Hey, thanks for coming back to episode 2 of our Fallout-inspired map build. Highlights of this episode, we're going to add a REST endpoint feature service. Also use an arcade expression to separate numbers out of a field that contains mixed text and numbers. And finally, bring in a geoJSON file into ArcPRO using the JSON to feature tool. Let's go! Let's start adding some data. Now, I did a pretty exhaustive search looking for nuclear detonation data for time, place, usefulness, and yield. And USGS has a pretty good repository for that, but you have to email them and talk to them, which I did. And they sent me some data, and it wasn't exactly what I wanted. So I searched some more, and I found the good people at Esri, some smart person, actually put together a great data set for this that has everything I need, and it's right here. So let's go ahead and add this data into our map, and we can do that easily by clicking on the feature class, there it is, and copy the address. Once we copy the address, we go over here to our map and add data from path. So we do that, there we go, and pow, there it is. There's all the data. Now the cool thing about this data set is it doesn't just take in Nevada, it's worldwide. From 1951 to 1992. Which is great for maybe a future project, but for now, all we want is Nevada. So let's take a look at our data table. And we have all kinds of cool data, useful data here, but for now, let's look at purpose. And they detonated nuclear devices for all kinds of different purposes, but since this is a Fallout 4 kind of tribute-y kind of thing, let's set a definition query to only grab the weapons development detonations, or weapons effects, and say apply. And once we do that, we now still have a bunch of detonations there. So let's go ahead and select only those in our view right now. So let's go ahead, make this the only selectable layer and select those. And since this is still a feature service, let's export. And why I get those boxes, I don't know sometimes. So if anybody out there knows, clue me. So let's export those features so we can make them our own and call those detonations. And now we have them for we can do what we will. And let's do a little housekeeping, get rid of those, and just work on what we have here. So if we open up our table of our nuclear detonations, and we scroll over a little bit, and we see a field called yield, which is the energy produced by the detonation. And it's mixed up with a lot of text and everything, and all I want is the number part of it. So let's go and add a field, and we call it detonation size, DET size. And we'll make it a double. And over here, numeric and 0 decimal places, because we don't need a bunch of decimal places on this. And if we look now and save, here it is over here. So let's now calculate on this field and extract all those numbers out of that yield field. That rhymes a lot. And by using a arcade expression, and as I always say, it's easy, it's fun. Arcade isn't as scary as it might look, so give it a try. So here's the arcade expression I came up with, and it's pretty simple. It just goes through and it looks at that column yield, and it says, well, if it's a character, then ignore it and return only the number. So pretty simple, really. So copying and pasting that expression into our calculate box, making sure that the expression type is arcade up there. We'll go ahead and just run that and see what we get. And once we do, get rid of this, we can see our detonation size. We have only the numbers out of the yield column, which is exactly what we want. So now we can start monkeying with our symbology. Let's make this graduated colors on the field detonation size here. And starting to look a little better, but we want a symbology that looks like an explosion. And the perfect symbology for that is Firefly. And we just have to pick one, doesn't matter which one. Let's go over here into our symbology. And we want the red ones to be on top. I do anyway. So let's go ahead and flip the symbology, reverse the symbol order, get the red ones on top. And also let's reverse the values as well. There we go. Now we have the big explosions, the detonations on top, smaller ones on the bottom. And let's change this from natural breaks over to quantile. That seems like a better spread to me. Okay, let's stick with that. Okay. So also let's show the count so we can add that into our map in a little bit. Actually, let's change and add it to the label right now. Just move that over. And do the same for all of these. Now, the Nevada Proving Grounds have some pretty iconic locations in there. That would be fun to note and put some symbology to. So I went out on the interwebs and I found the top 10 spots of interest in the Nevada Proving Grounds. And it was a geoJSON file. What the heck is that? Well, and how do you bring it in, right? So pretty easy, really. You go up here to your Analysis tab and look for your tools and type in here a JSON, and you will come up with JSON to features. So let's open that, and we can drop that file right in there, and make sure the geometry type is point, and run it, and those will come right on in. Turn this off and we can see, well, let's change the symbology just a little bit so we can see those places. Red. There we go. Yeah, so we can see those places are right along there. Cool. Now, opening the table, you can see all of the top 10 places, but there's a couple that I do want that don't show up here, and maybe a couple that I don't, just for my map. So let's go ahead and add a couple of new points. And you've all done this before, a Sedan crater, which is the largest man-made crater in the United States. So we got to note that. And also down here is Mercury, Nevada, where all the workers stayed. So that's pretty important, I'd say. Let's go ahead and edit and add those two places. There's Mercury, and up here is Sedan crater. Let's add that point as well. And as long as we're at it, let's fill out the attributes. Cool, great. And now let's select all the ones that I do want out of this 12, because we're just doing top 10. See, we'll save these. These are the ones I do. Once I select them, I'll go ahead and flip those and delete the ones that I do not want. And there we go. We have all of the points of interest, the top 10 points of interest. Let's change it to significant sites. And there we have it. So do me a favor, click on over to episode 3, and we'll do some symbology and start our layout and see how far we can get in that. Cheers. See you right over there.